Okay. So, Steve, I want to start with the 360-degree view here. You have Pelosi and Mnuchin seem to be going back and forth. Trump is all over the place. One day he won't budge on anything. Next day he's willing to do more than Pelosi. It seems like we don't even know if they came to an agreement, Pelosi and Mnuchin, if the Republicans would go for it. But at the end of the day, they are squabbling over 1.8 trillion versus 2.2 trillion. $400 billion is a lot of money, but considering you, I know we have the 2.2 trillion, we have the 1.8 trillion. We could make it 3 trillion. We could make it 50 trillion if we wanted to. This is really just theater because obviously we have the money to go as big as we want. We're just living under this perpetual false paradigm that we don't have the money and we need to somehow find the money. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. I think the other part of it is, and it's a little bit more nuanced than that. I'm not, clearly I can't stand any of the people mentioned, but the fact is that there's an issue of control. What is the oversight on that money? We know the last time when they did a big, huge stimulus, there was no accountability on where the money went. Trump is looking for an incredible amount of autonomy in how that money gets dispersed and lack of oversight and so forth. So for at least the optics sake, you can make a case that, hey, we'd like to make sure the money goes where it's supposed to go. That said, yeah, it is smoke and mirrors. It is kind of a joke. We've got people can't make their mortgage payments, can't, feed their families, losing their houses, getting foreclosed on already. People desperately worried about whether their job is going to go. And then more to the point, as these jobs stop producing revenue into the economy, other jobs start getting pinched. And then the escalator starts hitting. Now, obviously, these folks, they know there's an election coming up in a few weeks. So the election is pretty much everything. It's all the optics towards the election. Pelosi and gang really do not want to give Trump a win right before the election. And, Trump, on the other hand, I'm sure wants to make sure that his constituents, who I believe would vote for him even if he ate a baby on camera, I think that they, would look at him unfavorably as well if he suddenly broke out the money. Because, let's be fair, Republicans have made a career out of being, poor mouth, crying poor mouth. So I think there's a lot of optics here. I think it's a lot of posturing for an election coming up. And quite frankly, I don't expect anything to happen before the election.
What's really puzzling to me here is the Democrats. I mean, obviously, Trump's the president. He claims to be the, big deal maker. So the buck stops with him. And, Republicans have the Senate. So they obviously deserve blame here. But the Democrats, at a certain point, not only are you squabbling over $400 billion when in reality, this is all theater. We have all the money in the world on both sides. But they're setting themselves up. We think Biden is going to win based on the polls. We were wrong in 2016. I said in 2016 I thought Trump was going to win, actually. But it looks like Biden will win. But the way the Democrats are doing this, we could be in a full-fledged, I don't want to go as strong as 1932, but for a lot of people right now, they're living in a depression. Nothing's going to get done. If Biden wins, you think Republicans are giving stimulus during a lame duck in December and January? And then Biden gets in. We're already seeing stories. He's considering Republicans for his cabinet, like John Kasich and Meg Whitman. Go ask about Meg Whitman in California. She tried to basically erase Medicaid in the state. Lobbyists, there's been other articles about lobbyists are just already popping the champagne. They're literally doing Zoom calls with Biden campaign people. So it's not like Biden hasn't even really provided details on what kind of stimulus he would give. So the unemployed, which again, 86 days since that extra $600 unemployment expanded, you could be looking at February as the first time you'll get additional help. And that help probably will be another ham sandwich Obama stimulus, mostly geared towards tax credits.
Yeah, and that's being pretty optimistic, right? Nathan Tankus, he writes a blog in the a Substack where he talks about notes on the crisis. And he talked the other day exactly what you're saying. He said, his worst case scenario seems the most likely scenario with, with the election coming up, not being able to get it done in advance of the election, and then the lame duck session, as you stated. He said probably March before you see payments coming. So I think that you've got a real serious issue here. And it doesn't just impact the direct hit on the people without the money. Those people's, their spending is someone else's income. And income right now is king, because without having some income, I mean, there's literally nothing you can do. And it is terrifying. I wish that I could put see out just a little bit further to see how some of this is playing out. But, I'm frankly worried about the way the election itself is going to go, and it's going to take away the focus on what we're talking about now, because so many of the Democrats are voting via mail-in ballots, whereas you can see Republicans clearly are very, very happy to go maskless, to go ahead and drop their ballot in directly. And I can see a scenario playing out where on election day, you have Donald Trump winning by a landslide based on, people in-person ballots, and then waiting to count these other mail-in ballots, and then a whole bunch of invalidations. And this one has the wrong signature. This one didn't have the box fully filled in, hanging chads all over again. I could really see this dragging on to January, maybe even longer. And the fear of that, obviously, is what happened in 2000 was very contentious. I don't think the nation's still really recovered from Bush versus Gore either. I think that we're still suffering from that. Not that I really believe these elections really take what we're saying very seriously anyway. I really think a lot of this is theater. It's terrible. I hate feeling that way, but that's where I'm at, man. I am.
What's amazing to me, the original coronavirus bailout, which, let's face it, was one of the grandest bank robberies of our time. I mean, it was literally McConnell, Trump stealing the Treasury, and Pelosi driving the getaway car. I mean, they gave $2 trillion to corporations who didn't need it, gave a lot of money to the airlines, who are now laying people off when they were supposed to be keeping those people. Other corporations literally took that money and are buying back stocks with the coronavirus bailout money. Meanwhile, we're seeing horror stories of food lines around the country. We're seeing people rationing medication, people deciding between groceries and medication. And what's really incredible about it, there's been zero talk. I mean, I understand this isn't really how it works, but there has been zero talk on maybe we should reduce the military budget in this pandemic. Maybe we should cut other areas that we don't need. Or maybe, just maybe, we should do what Europe is doing quite seamlessly and just cover the payrolls, since all these vaccine makers have had to pause their coronavirus vaccine trials. We don't know if there's going to be a vaccine in December, April, who knows? Why is there no discussion on why is, Biden says this is the United States of America. There ain't a damn thing we cannot do. Why is nobody mentioning, why don't we just do what our friends in Europe do? We're stronger economically than them. They seem to be able to keep people off the unemployment rolls. Why not any talk about that?
So, we had the opportunity not too long ago to have Mark Cuban come and talk with Pavlina Tcherneva, who is the job guarantee guru, but she's also the guru of the concept of nationalizing payroll. And, we talked to Mark Cuban, and, he basically was like, yeah, this is not politically viable, blah, blah, blah. I think so much has been spent with Biden trying to distance himself from any kind of socialist label while he's been courting Republicans and so forth, that the idea of doing things that Europe does, which are largely seen as socialist, would really fly in the face. That would give that whole appearance that he is catering to the Bernie Sanders side, which he has sought through no shortness of words to distance himself from Bernie, saying repeatedly, I beat the socialists, et cetera. I think so much of this is optics. So much of this is to, bring those Republicans in the fold. You figure the center Republicans, center Democrats, all of a sudden you've got a unification of the party finally. I don't think they're worried about it. It's terrible. I hate to say this. So much of what's in his quote unquote platform sounds good. Some of it sounds really good compared to the others, not Bernie, but the others, right? But his language, the people surrounding him, they're already talking about reducing the deficit. They're already talking about unsustainable spending. They're already talking about those things. And we're seeing millions of people without health care, without jobs, and without income of any variety whatsoever. So, I don't have any faith whatsoever in Joe Biden, and I have no faith whatsoever in Donald Trump, and I have even less faith in Congress and the Senate coming together and making a move here. I mean, it really is. It's just damning. And nationalizing payroll, we could do it instantly. I mean, there's a lot of point in case that we would have been already through this virus had we gone ahead and nationalized payroll and taken some of these bold steps before. But unfortunately, so many of our friends, even our friends, believe that somehow or another the nation's broke and can't do these things. And it's tough to get a mass movement together when you got a bunch of people who believe the nation's broke. Nobody's out there taking the streets because they don't understand. But lo and behold, Ice Cube, of all people, Ice Cube comes out, reads Stephanie Kelton's book, sees that, hey, it's a lie, it's a bunch of bullshit, we can do this stuff. And so he starts making demands with his contract for Black America. And what does he do? He gets lampooned. He gets absolutely eviscerated by every, Democrat in the world because they don't believe that he's, being genuine. So what do you have? Every time you try and step out and do something that isn't sanctioned, if you will, by the upper crust of the Democratic Party, you're shot down, you're smacked down. So the idea of nationalizing payroll, they rejected a job guarantee when they were doing the whole unification thing where Bernie's team and Joe's team came together. They rejected a job guarantee then. They rejected a Green New Deal. They rejected Medicare for all. They've laid it down. They're not doing these things. So I don't see why they would. I mean, they've told you who they are. Why not believe them? I believe them. I believe they're Republicans. So, I mean, I'm not expecting anything from them at all.
Yeah, and the whole New York Times propaganda push, Biden, seeking to govern like FDR, is kind of at odds with talking about bringing on John Kasich, Meg Whitman, God knows what other creatures. Maybe Dick Cheney is next. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.